We're going to be talking about the 4 areas that make up the MAGA base. You guys that are Christian evangelicals and, you love Jesus, you're only 1/4 of the base in terms of the 4 parts. You need to know the other 3, because where they land on Israel and where they land on things that pertain to the end times, eschatological doctrine, you might be shocked to find out they're actually enemies of the Jewish people. And that's not good for the MAGA movement. It certainly isn't good for the ongoing grace of God. We have fault lines that are in our movement. The word for disease actually is an interesting word. It has to do with the idea that there's an ease interruption. Something is out of balance. The fallen nature of man wasn't God's original plan for us to be this way, but we are fallen and we war and we have factions and we have divisions and your own body could be at war against you. So I just want to remind you all, we are seeing phenomenal results with the level 10 matrix. I'm talking about constant reports of people whose body is coming back into alignment, who are finding their pain is being dealt with, degeneration is being reversed in cognitive clarity, in joints, in body parts. What I want you to do is just go to level10matrix.com and examine for yourself what is happening with stem cells, and the breakthrough technology that's around that is mind-blowing. Level10matrix.com, call 800-361-2270, and become some of the people that are having phenomenal breakthroughs in their health and in their life because they took proactive action. Now let's get into today's wild show.
All 30 states that track party registration. We're putting on the screen the data. It shows altogether Democrats have lost 2.1 million voters. Republicans have gained 2.4 million. That's a deficit that you have of 4.5 million voters.
Oh, boy. So Scott Pressler and the great work that he's done in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and in New Jersey has, for the first time, pushed the Republican voter rolls to the point where they've closed the gap. Not entirely, but sufficiently. I found something out. I don't know if you knew this, Mercedes, but that, I'm going to get the data here, that something like, you'd think 100% of people that are registered Democrats will vote Democrat, but actually about 30% of them might vote Republican. So they're kind of like a swing vote Democrat, but they lean Democrat.
Nice, blue dog.
So that means that when the voter, when they lose their advantage in terms, when you run to parity, they actually lose. Because if you got 500, let's say you have, 5 million on the left with Democrats, 5 million on the right. Well, about 30% of those left Democrats are actually going to vote with the Republicans. So America is a center-right leaning country still. It's just a matter of who can package the message best and who's controlling the emotional news cycle. But I'm saying all that because the midterms, let me give you a little midterms data. I want to see this window continue. I swear we are in a divine moment of the third great awakening, and I'm praying with this earnesty that the window would stay open like Joshua in the valley saying, oh, God, hold the sun and the moon still so that we have some time. We need time. But listen, we need time for this great awakening. We got a lot of infrastructure we got to occupy. Jesus said that if you sweep clean these institutions with executive orders, but you don't occupy with your new thinking and your new leaders and with a muscular momentum. I mean, I'm talking Cracker Barrel brand, sustainability, maintaining this movement. It's a new thing, but keep moving, develop that muscle. If we can, then we might have a decade for your children and my little grandchildren, my boys and girls who I want them to have a blessed life. I don't want them being plunged into the darkness of the chaos of what I've seen the world can fall into. The midterms is the next inflection point. All that to say, what happens politically when this gavel of authority gets given to the wrong people. The last time they had it, they had Clapper and Comey. They had the Mueller. They had 2 impeachments. They tried when Trump was running 4 times to lock the man in prison and bankrupt him. I don't want that power that is there in the hands of the wrong person. 20 midterms have taken place since World War II. Do you realize that 18 out of 20 have all worked to strip the president's party in office from power in Congress? In other words, 18 out of 20 times, if you're a Republican, the Democrats will take over. If you're a Democrat, the Republicans can take over. It's almost like America has some kind of a weird mechanism in it where it doesn't want the power in one location. It throws off to the other, which would be fine if they were both pursuing the same ends. Little competition. Iron sharpens iron. But what you've got now is evil versus good. I'm just putting it out there. If you give the gavel to evil, it becomes a shortening of the window of awakening. And from then on, the news cycle is you watch impeachment after impeachment effort. So there are 25 seats that shift every midterm. 18 out of 20 times, it doesn't work out for the president in power. It might be. This could be an exception. And I don't want anyone overconfident. I don't want anyone to feel like, oh, yeah, Trump's, because, you know, everybody lives in a news bubble. If you're in your news bubble, you know what you're hearing? You're hearing, oh, how's it possible? I mean, I hear it. I don't think there's any way Trump won't win the midterms. You know, it's like, but, folks, I've got family members. I don't know why it is. My family is Northeast, Annabelle's family. They're scholars. They're university people. They're people that work with the Democrat Party and PR work, and they're in another world entirely. They think that Trump's authoritarian tendencies have finally become so conspicuous with his taking over of D.C. and his threats about moving into Chicago, which we're going to cover in a minute, that shortly you're aware that his party's got to be taken out of power. That's the reality. There's smart people living in that bubble. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's talk about what makes up the MAGA party. Because you know when it really came? Well, hold it. You got some information here on CNN. Let me play this segment before I go into the way the MAGA party is made up. But Carl, get ready for that. Play this next segment for me on CNN. They're going, when CNN's telling you that you're in trouble, you're in trouble. Let's hear this.
The Democratic brand right now has about the appeal with the American voter as the Cracker Barrel rebrand has with the American consumers. Bad, bad, bad. What are you doing? Oh, my goodness gracious. What are we talking about here in terms of big party registration changes in the key swing states? Let's look at the key 4 swing states that, in fact, do keep track of registration by party. Look, the Republican Party is in their best position at this point in the cycle since at least 2005, and all 4 of these key battleground states. We go out to the Southwest, Arizona. How about Nevada? Republicans haven't done this well since 2005. Oh, my goodness gracious, at this point in the cycle. North Carolina, I couldn't find a point at which Republicans were doing better at this point in the cycle. It's at least this century. It probably goes way back in the last century. And Pennsylvania, very similar. Republicans doing better at this point than at any point this century, at least as far as I could find. Now, what types of gains are we talking about here for the Republican Party? Well, let's compare it to this point during the first Trump administration all the way back in 2017. Look at this. The Republican Party gains in party registration compared to this point back in 2017 during the Trump first administration. In Arizona, you got a Republican gain of 3 points. Okay, how about Nevada? Up the hill we go, even though we're sticking in the Southwest. A gain of 6 points. How about, again, we come to the East Coast, North Carolina, a gain of 8 points for the Republicans. And in the Keystone State, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, again, we're talking about a gain of 8 points. My goodness gracious, for Republicans, they are converting old former Democrats to their side of the ledger, as well as picking up new voters, registering new voters, and it absolutely paid off for them back in the 2024 election.
What does it tell you? I don't know if my in-laws are watching this, but what does it tell you? It tells you that the Democrat Party is disillusioned with the Democrat Party. And that is not that they're crazy about Trump. This was the beauty of the 4 years of him in the wilderness, fighting and clawing his way from the dark winter days of January 6th at Mar-a-Lago to where he got eventually, you know, in winning the election. He had to go through those 4 years, but in those 4 years, Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, Robert Kennedy Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, who else?
Vivek, Aiden Ross.
Oh, Elon Musk, Aiden Ross. I mean, those people had time. Reminds me of the scene like in Star Wars, whichever one it was, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, or whatever, when Darth Vader is fighting, or when the Emperor is trying to kill Luke Skywalker, with his electric fingers, and Darth Vader's watching and he's conflicted because that's his son. It's his son. And finally he reaches over and grabs the Emperor. Palpatine throws him down the reactor. I think this is kind of like the mental thing. It goes on with a lot of Democrats. They don't really like Trump. But what they're doing is crazy. Boom, we got to get rid of that. And even Bill Maher has that problem. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it leads into this reality. It's a big MAGA split. Thank God. Thank God for God. Do you know Israel could ultimately be the destruction of the United States? Not because we side with it, but because the day we turn our back on that little struggling country and become their enemy, we have cut the slender cord to the one grace that is holding us, in my opinion, in the mercy of God. Right now, in the world order, God put, I believe, the United States there for the sake of the nations. And the day that I tell you the truth, we really screwed up a lot of nations. I mean, this is so bizarre. We gave hundreds of billions of dollars to Iran and allowed the Palestinians to get the money they had so that they could weaponize themselves, build the tunnels, and Hezbollah and Hamas could attack Israel. It's like the Biden administration did the exact opposite of everything that needed to be done. So we were and then we put our gay flags on all the embassies globally. We enforced them to have to choke down our perverse ideology infused with government symbolism right there at the White House. Can you imagine if Donald Trump was to drape a cross right there at the White House, drop the flag down? I mean, he might do it. I shouldn't even suggest it. Just say, hey, we're with God here. He was carrying the Bible around at certain points. Anyway, here's what I want to do. I want to identify for us what are the four groups in the MAGA coalition that almost split exactly down the middle on Israel. The only thing that we really could go to war over in our own party is the religious issue. There's something here that we need to capture, and that is that you and I, as our part of the audience, that is the War Room part, the Charlie Kirk part, even the evangelical part, which I think is substantial, like 40 million votes is nothing to sneeze at when you win in an 80 million vote election. It's like half your party. But I don't really think that people understand our position on Israel because we're divided ourselves. I'm surprised to see it. I am, frankly, because anti-Semitism is something which I never thought would arise in the MAGA base or on the campuses the way that it has. But you have to look at Trump as a unique phenomenon. And one of the articles in Newsweek says that to control the House and the Senate and the executive branch in 2026, if he loses that, the whole thing blows up. Mm-hmm. So Donald Trump has to zig and zag, bob and weave and negotiate and transact to keep this governing majority in place. And I think we need to dedicate our next segment to what are the elements of that governing majority. Mercedes?
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Lance. And as we talked about at the beginning of this segment, I think we're winning so many people to the party right now. We're actually going to be facing a crisis here of what does the Republican Party look like in the next 2 years, 4 years? Will that be redefined? So it's going to be fascinating to look at. I'm excited to see your analysis in the next segment.
What if you could live younger and stronger for longer? Is it possible to reactivate your body's internal repair system the way God designed it? Are you or someone you love struggling with body degeneration and in search of some kind of an effective solution? At Level 10 Matrix, we believe that the power that created you can heal you, and that healing and regeneration are already encoded right inside your DNA. Whether it's due to injury or illness or aches or chronic pain or lack of energy, mental or physical decline, or the brain fog that seems to come with the aging process itself. If you want to revitalize your life now, then call 1-800-361-2270 or go to level10matrix.com now to claim your complimentary ebook and to schedule your complimentary no obligation, no pressure consultation. Remember, looking and feeling younger never gets old. So if you want to revitalize your life now, then call 1-800-361-2270 today. All right, so what you have is the first time I've ever looked at a map of the MAGA base, because you ever think about it? I don't even think when I'm on Flashpoint and other programs that we actually analyze what makes up the base. But I got a call from a friend of mine who works with a lobby, which is for representing anti-Semitism. After the shootings of the young couple outside, of the Jewish embassy, they were involved with the Jewish embassy in Washington, I became aware, along with the pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas aggressive protests going on the college campuses, the Jewish people that are, being picked upon and bullied on the campuses in the West. I became aware of the fact that there's a sea change happening. It's coming from the universities into the institutions. But Derek Prince, years ago, a Cambridge scholar, predicted that anti-Semitism would be a rising trend, and eventually Israel would stand alone, and all nations would have to go into a valley of decision. And the valley of decision would be deciding what they were going to do with Israel, whether they would be for or against this little people, which struck me as a strange thing. But Michelle Bachmann, who's in charge of, the Regent University School of Government right now, she echoed that same sentiment. So when my friend called me and said that he wanted to engage my energies on helping the battle with anti-Semitism, he pointed out there's an article to read in Newsmax. I want to pick up a part of that article here. During the Iran-Israel conflict, we came to a point that came to a boiling point, actually. And I thank God it happened then. It didn't happen before the midterm elections, because the division, it really revealed that all of our coalitions that work together on loving Trump and loving MAGA divide and crack apart when it comes to religion as revolves not the existence of God and Western Judeo-Christianity, but regarding specifically the Jewish state and God's plans for Israel. So here's the four segments here. The libertarian wing of the MAGA community, which is represented by Tucker Carlson, Senator Robert Kennedy, the Tesla billionaire, Elon Musk, and Kentucky GOP Senator Rand Paul. So these libertarians here are, there's a large part of America that falls into the Elon Musk RFK, especially Musk talking about the debt and the budget in Washington, and then Rand Paul about America, getting involved with these foreign wars. So there's a large group of our MAGA base that is here. But then go over here to the economic populists. I never thought about this, but really Steve Bannon, he calls himself an economic populist. And because he understands capital markets, and I love how he brings on different guys to educate the audience. And the audience really loves Steve because he's like the professor who doesn't talk down to you. He just basically says, look, guys, you can get this. You can get this. It's not that complicated. And it's like dad teaching you how to handle investments or something. So Bannon is an economic populist at its core. He sees the industrial base being stripped. He understands how the capital markets work, how the money class and the elites game the system to make money while the working man, the average Joe, is losing his income and losing his self-respect as industry collapses in the United States. There you go to fentanyl addiction is highest in the places where the manufacturing cities were collapsed and men are unemployed. They have no self-respect, no purpose. What do they do with it? Listen, there's a direct correlation between crime, depression, suicide, alcoholism, domestic violence, and a man's self-respect as a result of gainful employment, feeling good about themselves and doing something productive to provide for the people they love. So you've got that economic populist base over there, which bleeds into the social conservative base because these are Judeo-Christian values with Bannon. That's why he'll have a rabbi on, he'll have a pastor on. And this idea that Western civilization is based as a Catholic on the idea of God and moral absolutes that govern the moral universe. You move over here to the social conservatives. Now, who do we have here in our article here? I think it's a little shallow. The movement conservative led by social conservative activists like Charlie Kirk. You only got one name there. Too bad. It's unfortunate, right? You got Jack Hibbs. You've got Paula White. Anybody hear of her? She's 20 feet down the hall from the Oval Office. You've got social conservatives, but they don't know how to handle the evangelicals. What should I put here? A cross over here? It's all the 40 million evangelical voters, a huge part of the social conservative base. And by the way, for you guys that aren't paying attention in these other camps I'm talking about, they happen to be the pro-Israel voters. They're not really politically engaged. We're new. We really got engaged when Trump came down the escalator. Before that, Ralph Reed, we got involved with Reagan, but we got fanatical when Trump came because of the eschatological reality of the destruction of the West. We saw it, and boom, we became almost 40% of the Trump MAGA base. But I digress. Then we've got establishment Republicans. Well, that's what they're calling them. But the establishment Republican wing encompasses political figures like Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio. I don't know. Would you put Ted Cruz in there? Would you put Ted Cruz in there?
I put Ted in there.
Yeah. So Mercedes says Ted Cruz would be in there. But the establishment Republicans, this isn't the sexy part of our party, but we love Rubio now. We love Cruz now. You know why? In the enlargement of this middle place here, the intersection of the MAGA movement is Donald Trump. That's where that thing happens. So these are the four divisions. Now, what works against us, dare I say, is the fault line that fragments us really does come down to what do you do with the nation of Israel? Because Marjorie Taylor Greene, oh my God, where does Taylor Greene go in all this?
She's probably closer to libertarians right now.
Yeah, she's like an M, and she's hard to figure out.
Right? She'd probably be populist.
She's an economic populist who talks like a Christian nationalist, who's totally screwed up on Israel. She is a beautiful test case of the discombobulation of our mental state. Marjorie Taylor Greene would say, I'm a Christian nationalist, born again, praise you, God, praise Jesus, boom. Economic populist, right there with Bannon, take the jobs back for the United States, boom, over here. No wars, no foreign intervention, never, ever, 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 ever get involved with another country. It's all about America first. We're not sending anybody anywhere. Well, Trump, thank God, has the wisdom to say, in order to have a global system with us at the top, we have to, I thought about this analogy the other day. Imagine you have a mall, and there's an anchor store there. When I grew up, it might be Jacques de Penney, J.C. Penney's. So you got this anchor at the mall. I mean, basically, it's Neiman's, what's it called?
Neiman Marcus, Saks Fifth Avenue.
Give me a store like Saks Fifth Avenue.
Macy's.
Macy's is the anchor store. So the way this picture goes, I only got 3 minutes, so I got a lot to cover, and I'm very sorry that this show is going this way, but this is the way it is today. You got Macy's right here, right? Is it with a Y?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then you got all these other stores. You got Gap, you got this, you got Johnson & Murphy, you got this. Then you got another anchor store down there. If you're the money people that are making, let's say, that you've got 30% of the mall traffic, 30 to 40% of that mall traffic is coming to you, you can't just exist for yourself. So here's the deal. You want the money to be coming to you. You cannot say, I am like, I'm going to be a Macy's first. Mm-hmm. So if I'm going to be about America first, and I'm all about Macy's first, and I ignore the rest of the mall. So let's say that at some point, this cat over here starts a fire over here at the Gap. And then this one over here starts a fire over here at Johnson & Murphy's. I can't say I'm not getting involved with what's going on out there because I'm only interested in Macy's. And the rest of you are buying from Macy's. Well, guess what? There are times when, it's so obvious in this analogy, times when your economic interests in terms of global stability in the mall requires you to get involved with Iran because it's about to disrupt business, or get involved with Russia. Why? This is the EU market over here. And this is your Middle East market here. And then you got China. And guess what China wants to do? China wants to wipe out Macy's and take all the business to them on the other side of the mall. Just think about what I'm saying. The president has the ability to look at the mall and go, I want America's interests served. And to do that, I have to deal with the Middle East because it affects business. I have to deal with Europe because it affects business. And Lord knows I'm not trying to provoke a fight, but I got to keep them from taking over the mall because they're the anchor store competitor to Macy's. That's what Trump's got to juggle. And you got these kinds of, this is where dummies on our side are dangerous. Because the only thing we can agree on now is Donald Trump, thank God, gets who we love for his economic populism and for his, at times, social conservative values. But the reality is he's anti-Israel and anti-Semitic. Same thing with Tucker, anti-Semitic. If they don't get that right, my fear is J.D. Vance. And who's the group that's with J.D.?
Like Elon.
J.D., Elon, yeah. Tucker,
yeah.
Don Jr. I fear that they don't share your worldview as regards the Jewish question. And that's dangerous. And that's the subject of another broadcast, because the future is with the Marjorie Taylor Greens and J.D. Vances that I fear will make a big mistake regarding Israel if they don't have a Gestalt experience and realize spiritually, it's a revelation as to God's end time plan for the gospel to go to the nations, sheep nations, just nations, stable nations that will not persecute Christians or Jews. But that Antichrist spirit, folks, it will come after you big time. And what's holding it off is the hand of God as a restrainer right now. We'll be back again with our next broadcast. You don't want to miss it. Got a lot to talk about.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate the